Hey guys, what's going on? Hope everybody's having a good day out there today, and welcome back all the fans of the channel, all the haters of the channel. Appreciate you guys taking a few minutes out of your day to watch the video. Much appreciated. And hey, real quick before we just get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that coming up, I'm guessing it's going to probably be 2 or 3 weeks from now, we're going to be hitting, it looks like, 45,000 YouTube subscribers. And when we hit that 45,000 mark, we got big giveaway coming up. We got cases of Bridgeford beef jerky, solar bat sunglasses, Seaguard, fluorocarbon fishing line. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, which half of you guys out there that are watching these videos have not hit that subscribe button yet, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button to be eligible for the giveaway, and would appreciate that. So anyway, today we're going to have a conversation. I've had a few comments. I've been doing a lot of these videos on the subscriber suggestions here lately, trying to, answer as many questions as I can from everybody. And a couple reoccurring questions I've been getting is they want to know, basically have a discussion on hook sets. And when do you know when to set the hook? How long do you wait to set the hook? How quick do you set the hook? So I'm going to give you guys a sort of a foundation to build on to really help you out with this, because hook sets are one of the things that I've studied for years, guys. It's like one of the things that I tried to do early in my career, since I didn't have much money to go fishing as much as I wanted to, I had to spend my time taking advantage of everything that I could do and control that didn't require money to do so. So one of the things that I did is I really took the time and advantage when I was on the water to study the art of hook setting and when you need to set the hook and how long you need to wait. And this is something that was a slow process. It's something that took me decades to learn, and it took me setting the hook on thousands and thousands of bass to really determine what the system that I developed for setting the hook as far as the timing on it. So and that's really the only way you can do it, is you have to go, in order to develop a good hook setting system, you have to go through a lot of hook sets on fish, and you have to study the way the bass are hooked on a lot of different type of lure categories based upon that hook set. Now there's two different parts of hook sets, and I just want to cover one of them in this video. There's the timing as far as when you need to set the hook, and then there's the part of the hook set about how you actually mechanically set the hook as far as the angle and the rod sweep and everything that comes with that. That's going to be another video. Today I just want to talk about when to know when do you want to set the hook. So first of all, I want to say right off the bat that most people out there set the hook way too soon. That's probably the biggest mistake that I see anglers make when they set the hook. Even some good anglers, is they just simply set it too soon. They're like a live nerve ending out there, and when they get a bite, they just jerk as quick as they can. One of the things that you have to do, first of all, in order to know when to set the hook, is you have to be prepared for that strike. Because if you're not prepared for that strike and it catches you off guard, you're always going to set the hook too soon. This is, and I'll use a prime example. If you guys have fished a buzzbait before, or any topwater, like a Zara spook, a buzzer, whopper, plopper, whatever, if you've been fishing this topwater for 3 or 4 hours without a bite, and all of a sudden you get bit on the thing, most of the time, or a lot of times, you're going to lose that fish because you're so jacked up when that fish hits that you just set the hook immediately. So the first thing that you have to learn to do is you have to discipline yourself to every single cast that you make. You have to expect that bass to hit. And you have to go through this exercise in your mind about how you want to set that hook as far as when you want to set the hook, and by expecting that strike. And if you're not expecting the strike, you simply can't do that. So I want to cover that when I'm talking about timing on hook set, I want to cover several different lure categories. Okay, we'll start out first with topwater, because I was just talking about it. When you get a strike on a topwater, I don't care what it is. It could be a frog, it could be, a popper, buzzer, whatever, that type of stuff. The first thing that you need to do is you need to give that fish just a few seconds, like a second or two, to know that they've got that bait. So for example, if I'm walking a Zara spook across the water and that fish hits it, I usually stop what I'm doing. I don't set the hook, wait maybe a second or two, and then I set the hook. If I'm fishing a frog, a lot of times I'll let them grab that frog and I don't set the hook until I actually feel the bass pulling, because it's a soft bait. But the thing that you have to do on those floating topwater plugs is you have to give them a second or two to get that bait in their mouth and move a little bit with it, turn a little bit with it before you set the hook. And that's gonna allow you to get a lot more bites. Okay, next one we'll talk about moving baits like crankbaits, swim baits, jerk baits, that type of stuff. One of the biggest mistakes, again, people make with jerk baits and crankbaits and that type of stuff is they set the hook too soon and they set the hook too hard, which I'm not going to talk about how hard to set the hook, but I'm talking about the soonness of it. Again, the thing you have to do is when you're throwing that crankbait down there, or throwing a spinnerbait or any type of moving bait like that, when you get that bite, you have to resist the urge to set that hook. Instead, what you have to do is when you feel and you think you have a bite, even if you don't, even if it's a rock or whatever, but if you think you have a bite, you need to pull that rod into that fish slowly while you reel fast at the same time. You don't want to like be reeling the crankbait and just set the hook on it like that, because a lot of times that just the quickness of that setting that hook is going to you're going to lose that fish. So as far as the time on that, it's almost like when you get that bite, just pretend like you're reeling through the crankbait and continue reeling fast. Not that you have to hesitate. You don't need the hesitation on there like you do on purpose for the topwaters, where you're actually waiting for them to get the bait. When they get that crankbait, they've already got that thing in their mouth for the most part, but what you have to do is by moving that bait with your rod tip and reeling at the same time, you're constantly pulling those hooks deeper into that fish. So the timing on that, like I said, is not much of a time hesitation as it is just the way that you move into that fish. Now, the big thing I want to talk about is the slow baits, because that's the one that people seem to have the most problem with. Baits like shaky heads, jigs, creature baits, worms, Carolina rigs, all those baits that you're fishing on the bottom, bouncing on the bottom. Biggest mistake again here, guys, is people set the hook too soon. And one of the things that I found out about timing on hook sets on a slow bait is if you get bit by a good fish, that fish is not going to let go of that bait. 9 times out of 10, it's going to swim 10 to 20 feet with that bait before they let go of it. And a lot of times they'll swallow it before they let go of it. So that's what you have to tell yourself, is when you get that bite, the thing that I like to do is I like to let that line move probably 3 to 6 feet with that bait before I set the hook. And the thing that I'm trying to do is when I set the hook is I want that fish to have enough time to get that bait in its mouth and turn in a different direction than when they bit it. And then what I want to try to do is and again, I don't want to get into the way you set the hook, but that gives me time to manipulate my rod into the position to set the hook. And it also gives that bass a time to take that bait a little bit deeper in its mouth. I'll use one example here. I was fishing a tournament at the Chaffalay Basin in Louisiana, FLW tournament. And I think I told this story, I think last year one time, but it's a good point, so I want to reiterate it. But anyway, I was flipping a jig on trees in that tournament, and I'd get a bite, with my hook cut off, and I'd let the fish swim with it a little bit and then shake the fish off, and they wouldn't let go of it. I mean, they would just swim forever with it. So anyway, the first morning of the tournament, I get out there, and the first 3 or 4 bites I had, same deal. I'd let them swim 2 or 3 feet with it. I'd set the hook, and the bait had just come back to me. And I knew they were good fish because I could feel the weight of them. I could feel their heads turning, so I knew they were solid fish. So finally, I started letting them run further. I started, the next one, I let it run like 7, 8, 9 feet with it, and I set the hook and still lost it. So eventually I just said, I'm just gonna let them run forever with it. So when I got a bite, I would basically push the thumb bar, let them swim for 20 or 30 feet, set the hook, and then I never lost another one. Finished in the top 10 in that tournament. That was a freak deal. I've never had to do that long before, but the point is don't get in a hurry when you're setting the hook on a slow bait. Take your time. Make sure that your rod position is in good position to set the hook. A lot of times the way you lose fish is you set the hook so quick that you don't even pay attention to the position your rod's at, and you lose the fish. You don't get a solid drive into the fish's mouth. So the best tip I want to give you that is just take your time, take a deep breath, let the fish swim a ways before you set the hook. So anyway, just to reiterate, guys, 3 different lure categories basically. Topwater lures, hesitate a second or two on it, give them a chance to pull that bait under the water before you set the hook. On moving baits like crankbaits, spinner baits, that type of stuff, don't hesitate any at all, but don't jerk and set the hook hard, just pull into them. And thirdly, on your slow baits, do not get in a big hurry. Let these fish swim at least 3 to 6 feet before you set the hook. They're not going to swallow it most of the time. They're not going to drop it, and you'll catch a lot of those fish. So anyway, that's what's worked for me. I've used this system for a lot of years now, and it's been highly successful. Let me know how it works for you. So just wanted to pass that tip along. I hope you guys are doing good, and we'll see y'all later.